Welcome to the Weabros Anime Podcast. My name is Arch, and today I am joined again by Steven.
How's it going, everybody?
Well, hopefully it's going well for you guys, because it's going well for us. It's a little bit hot out here in California, but relatively hot. Anyways.
No, it's not relatively hot. It's very hot.
Okay, it's pretty
very
hot. Not going to lie. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and follow up on our summer 2018 animes. And we're just going to go ahead and just review a couple of these, which you guys, if you guys have been following along, nothing has really changed. Still the same lineup. But after today, things may change a bit.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. If you've been watching, you'll know exactly what we're going to drop.
All right. So let's go ahead and move into our first one here. Our first one is Angels of Death.
Yeah. So this week was probably the slowest paced episode we've seen thus far. And it was bound to happen, right? There's been a lot of exposition going on the first couple episodes. And this floor with Eddie was the first one to take 2 different episodes to kind of complete. Like, we're finally going to the next floor, right? But remember, in the original episode with the doctor, that all happened in the course of one episode, right? The introduction of Zach, the introduction of the doctor. Whereas this one, when we finally uncover who Eddie is, who I guess the Gravedigger, I should say, is.
The Gravedigger.
You know, it all happened over the course of 2 episodes, which was cool. With that said, though, I honestly feel like the most exciting parts of it were actually occurred during the first episode. The initial fight scene when Eddie's kind of, blowing around to the dark is interesting, but it's not long enough to really be that engaging. So I personally think this is actually one of the weaker episodes, well, the weakest of the bunch thus far. It wasn't bad by any means, but I think it was the least interesting for sure.
Believe it or not, I do have to agree with you. Only because with like the doctor scene, like back in the first episode, there's a lot of build up between it. Like, you're just trying to wonder who this guy is. Yeah. I mean, granted, this guy did have 2 episodes. But
the doctor?
No.
Oh,
Eddie did.
okay.
Eddie did.
Yeah.
So I mean, just that aside, though, I do gotta say I actually do like Eddie's character, though. He is a gravedigger, and he's really all about the beauty of death. He's all about aesthetics, as he kept saying over and over and over.
I totally agree with you. There's one thing, and I'm probably reading too much into this, but ladies, this one's for you.
Oh, boy.
I thought it was really cool. So you know how you always hear, like, nice guys finish last?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And the entire time throughout the episode, when Eddie's trying to kill Rachel, he's asking her, can I kill you? Just say yes. Just say yes, I can kill you. Oh, yeah. Just say yes, I can kill you. Come on, I'm going to give you the more beautiful death. He's reckless. He's not good enough. And it's so parallel to he's not good enough for you. He's a bad guy. And I'm over here. I'm a good guy. I deserve this. I deserve to be with you. And I thought it was such an interesting parallel. And I don't know. I want to say I don't know that it's meant to go like that, but it feels too similar to almost dismiss, So even if they weren't going for that effect, I think that was definitely top of mind when they were writing this character. But I agree with you. His fascination with death is interesting, in that it's the complete opposite of Zach, right? Of Isaac. And I feel like when you compare the two, I think Eddie's is more gross, because I think because he's, glorifying death and actually he's glorifying murder, right? Like, he's going to murder her. So I feel like that's worse, because whereas Zach is doing it out of some weird sick impulse, Eddie is like, oh, no. He seems totally there and cognizant of what he's doing. Yep. But it's like he's doing it only because he wants to, make it look good. I don't know. I feel like that's makes him worse almost. What did you think about the sense of loyalty that Rachel seems to have towards Zach?
So, I mean, she was super hesitant on her death, which was so interesting. Like, going on with the past episodes, or 2 episodes, she was so about, like, kill me, or sorry, the last episode, excuse me. Yeah, she was all about kill me. And then when she's finally able to get it, Eddie's telling her, like, I can give you what you want, you can give me what I want. It works out. It's perfect. We're made for each other, Rachel. She just, I don't know, like, there's something about her that just it's like a big red flag. Like,
I was about to get into that. So, the last point I put on here, and I think we talked about this when the anime finished, but Rachel is hiding something. And at first I thought, oh, well, you promised to kill me was meant only because she originally didn't think Zach was smart enough to get out. And so she knew, like, okay, I have to actually be alive for all of this, right? We will not get out until... And he knows that. He knows he won't get out without her. He's constantly saying that. So her getting to promise that was more like a don't feel bad about me. Don't let, our relationship, this weird Stockholm Syndrome thing, prevent you from killing me. But now I'm starting to think, no, I think when she read the files and everything started occurring, she learned something about herself that Zach, she never divulged to Zach, and that isn't divulged, to us as viewers. And I'm wondering when that's going to come up, because this is just me predicting, and speculating, but I feel like we're going to find out later on that Rachel, maybe there's a reason why she was kept alive.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the day, she's either the one who trapped all of them, right? Or she is the one that they like had to trap to prevent something, and they couldn't kill her for some reason. So she's trying to, get his commitment, right? Get his buy-in to do this.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to know why, And I guess as much as I say this is like the weakest of the 3 episodes, I only think it's the weakest because it had to lay down the most. It was one of those episodes like in TV where you have to kind of push the story along, even if nothing interesting like major happens.
Yeah.
Like it's like setting the kind of tracks for the next episode. So we're on a new floor now, and I think I'm excited to see what kind of.
Oh yeah, I really want to know what's about to happen with that. One thing I do want to touch up before we move on to the next one was the actual death scene, the actual like death setup that he had. I do have to say that it did look beautiful. Yeah, like if it looked like a great like place where like if you were to visit someone's grave, like it would look absolutely nice. Yeah. It was such a perfect setup, and the thing he had planned out for Rachel, which is ironic because he ended up being the one who gets put into this beautiful, setup. And with that being said, I gotta give a shout out to Zach. He had no hesitation. The moment the lights went on, he was like,
he struck.
Bye bye. That was great.
So I thought it was interesting. You know how like this beautiful setup, there were 6 butterflies that landed on the grave. Like just 6 butterflies, and I was thinking like a lot of times these shows.
I didn't even catch that.
Well, like put in butterflies and stuff, right? Like, 'cause it's like the evolution of somebody. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, are we watching Rachel in this hotel or hospital, right? Being incubated, being in her, in her cocoon, and as she leaves the hospital, she'll turn into something else, right? I think this all ties back to what she knows that we don't, including her fascination to God. That whole segment where she was like, he swore to God.
Yeah,
he swore to God. Like, what does that mean to her? Where did this religious underpinning come from? Because it wasn't there the first couple episodes, No. So,
well, it kind of was. I mean, they kind of hinted it with like her hands being clasped. I don't know if you remember that. It was since the first episode.
That's fair. That's fair. Maybe I just didn't catch it. I mean, I didn't catch it certainly. But I think it's interesting, and I do want to know where this goes. At the end of the day, they did a good enough job in the first 2 episodes of creating like a world that is intriguing and engaging. That I think a couple of slow episodes, even if it were to persist, isn't going to prevent us.
It's a really good setup. At least they're very, like as you said, like very, they're following along,
correct,
like the story very well, as opposed to like some other ones, which we're actually about to talk about right now.
So speaking of continuations, I'm glad that this kind of we watched the animes in the order we did because in Cells at Work this week they addressed or not addressed. Let me rephrase that. They actually had zombie cells.
They did,
right? Which is something I requested basically in the first episode that we did together, commenting on that because the red blood cell had that scratch on her hand.
Yep.
However, so I was super for it when I first saw it. I was sitting on the couch gloating about how I called it and I was right. And, just doing all the things I love to do.
Yep.
And as the episode progressed, we only saw the red blood cell once. There was no mention of her hand. She basically, she was like, "What's going on?" And they were like, "Zombies," and she was like, "Ah!" And then that was it. Like she like ran away, and that was her entire.
Yeah, that's all she.
That was her line. This episode.
This episode was just really all about Mr. Naive Cell and his.
I wouldn't even say that.
It transformation.
I think they were like this episode was like just laying out the different foundations of like cells that attack incoming cells or I guess incoming germs or zombie cells.
Yeah.
But and I get it. Like they were trying to make it like, oh, it's like the military, like the bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. Like here's the dendritic cell calling for backup, right? The macrophage is the finally a woman warrior. One
You
woman.
know what? They did answer you though. You had
woman.
been asking for it. You went on an entire rant.
One woman
asking for a woman warrior, and guess what?
They
got it.
One.
So the one with the power of
they even
many.
So I thought that I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. They made her like the overpowered person. Great. I'm all for it. And then they make it a point to say the T cells. They're like, yeah, here comes the white blood cells to do like preliminary work. The macrophage identifies what's going on, and then we call the T cells these big buff guys who take over. Like, man, we saw the macrophage take out like 9 zombies with a swing of like her parasol. Like. So I
mean, there also was that other guy. I forgot what his thing was. Remember, he shot people with his gun.
Oh, the antibody guy.
Yeah, the antibody. He did work, But no one really noticed him.
He did.
Okay, you know what?
Where are my Shiros at?
All right,
you know?
let me go ahead and just move past this here. Speaking of naive Cell, I thought he was just a really big snot-nosed brat, which I get does live up to the name. And the transformation was just so random to me. I was so upset that it had happened just so instantly. I felt like it was going to be over maybe the course of, the show. We get to see his growth.
It didn't make sense.
Nope, he just literally and then he also proliferated. And,
it was a little homoerotic.
Yeah.
When he's like, oh, you understand the history. And then he just like,
yeah.
All
right. Okay. I was getting that sense, but I didn't think about it that way.
Because, and look, again, I was complaining about lack of continuity. And so when I thought this episode was going to provide us with some continuity, I was super excited.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. And the thing was, like, there was no resolution. This is one of those episodes of, again, and I've mentioned this before, of like television where nothing actually happens.
Yeah.
Like the latest Deadpool movie where like nothing really happens. And you're like, okay, this is, I guess, interesting. But you know what I mean? Like by the end of the episode,
yeah,
they had exterminated the beast, the influenza B, but it's like, oh, here comes influenza A. And they're like, oh no, you know what I mean? And that's just
I
you can't
that.
Like, come on,
it sucked. Yeah, like there was so much. It was so much of a perfect setup to like show that to continue with like that girl's hand, having bled. But no.
Again, but all we're asking for is like, ow, or is that going to happen to me? Anything. But no. So
at least I do want to talk about one good thing about the episode that I actually did like though was when naive Cell became effector T Cell. He had a sequence where he first came in and he was like doing multiple hits over and over and over. I believe that was like slight reference into JoJo, which I hope I get you to watch. It's JoJo Bizarre's Adventure. We just did multiple hits, like ura, 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 and just kept hitting over and over. And you remember that part?
I thought you were going to refer to like One Punch Man, and I was like, I saw one episode.
No, that's not One Punch Man. I just wanted to say that I thought that was actually a pretty cool, a nod, if that's what they were going for, because that is a classic anime.
So I did have one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The setting of this show, right, is in the human body, we presume.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is this person? This person is always sick. Like I was telling Arch about this.
Yeah.
I was like, this. I feel like when obviously we don't know the timeline of the series, but it comes into question because if somebody has like, I get it that you fall, you get a scab like last week, whatever. But the week prior they were like infested with germs.
Yeah.
This week influenza B hit them. Next week it looks like influenza A. Like what? Are they not taking their vitamins?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, and eventually they're gonna have to address this. Like, is this person, what's going on?
This person, I hope they get through it. Whatever it is. They've been doing good so far. Which would
Thoughts
make
and
sense.
prayers.
Which is why their immune system's so strong because they keep getting hit with constant, sickness. It does make sense.
I guess so.
All right. Well, I think we're still gonna keep watching this one. This one does still have. It has its moments. I will have to say it's got its moments. It's not the perfect anime, but then again, it is more geared towards being, I guess, comedic, educational. I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of fits its role.
I'm trying not to read into the whole educational aspect of it.
Plot wise, it's just it's not there for me.
Here's the thing. Like we were saying, it has random elements that are very good and that are interesting, but it doesn't know how to build on them. Too often, it falls into like, let me explain to you what kind of cell this is, and not every person's gonna want to learn about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. Actually,
nothing left to say.
Yeah, I'm done with that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to one of your personal favorites.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Let's go ahead and talk about that. So to begin with this one, guys, I do have to say that there's nothing more riveting.
Don't start
than a badminton match.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on HaneBADo on this 4th episode that had just come out right here? Any initial thoughts on it?
The only thing I remember from this episode is that there was someone named Connie, and that she said, "I will not play with you. I will win alone." And I was like, "Damn."
She was rude.
I was like,
that was cold.
That's my girl.
That was cold.
But other than that, it was boring. It was more boring.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and talk a little bit about it. we did get to see Aragaki, two of our main chicks, which I don't know who the main one is. I'm assuming it's Ayano at this point, but I'm honestly not too sure. But Aragaki, we get to see her sitting on the bus, enjoying all the time with her teammates. It's kind of really different from what we've seen in the first episode where her team quit on her, and she was literally feeling left out. She was feeling like the solo warrior because she felt like she needed to do everything on her own. So we're actually seeing, good character development for her, at least I want to say, just because you can tell that she's slowly starting to become that actual team player that everyone's been wanting her to be. You wanted to be the senpai, because she's the older one. And we also get to see a little bit of the same thing with Ayano. As you could see, when they were entering that tournament, she actually got very excited. Normally she's just very I'm here to play, whatever. She's like, I'm actually, she's really excited to be playing as part of a team, which I thought was pretty cool. But honestly, that just wasn't enough for me. I just felt like it just didn't have enough significant impact to me. I do see the development as the episodes are going on. I just didn't really get attached to it. It just didn't really make a big impact to me at all.
You know what I think it is? It's like you said, these characters have made these strides over the course of these, 4 episodes now? Because the anime's, I think, 4 episodes in. Yeah. But no reasonable person would get over their insecurities or their mommy issues or any of that this quickly. You know what I mean? So I feel like this anime needed to either commit to being a drama where we're gonna dive into the relationships, familiar relationships, or it needed to commit to being a sports anime and show us more badminton. Not that would be more interesting, but still
more action is what you're looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. And we didn't get either one. It was a weird. It couldn't find the balance between them. So we ended up with this.
And honestly, the new character that they introduced, who was Connie's partner, she looked like Aragaki. Yeah. I really got confused for a second. I was like, I remember you were even asking me is that her on the other team?
Yeah. You know what the worst part is? You know how I identified that it wasn't her?
How?
Her bust.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like,
welcome to the Weeb Squad.
Yeah. I was like, that can't be her.
Yeah. And I mean, the episode ended with, Connie kind of mentioning or calling her Onisan, which, is the older sister in Japanese. Not sure what that's supposed to be in reference to. Maybe she is related to the prodigy that was raised up. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but I think at this point we've watched enough of HaneBADo to know that I think we're going to be done with watching this anime, unfortunately. Yeah. Unless something really crazy hype pops up on my Twitter feed.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As you said this, something just hit me. Yeah, Connie is the sister of Ayano. Remember how the blonde girl, the mom, showed up? They were showing flashbacks to the mom. Yeah. And her new kid's a blonde girl. I just realized that. Oh. I literally just realized that. Still not interested enough to continue.
I thought Connie would have been, oh, you know what? That's the prodigy. Yeah. Okay. That is still not actually the sister. Continue,
but yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Because I was like, when you said that, you're like...
that's kind of...
Because I had no idea what Onisan was, and then you said, oh, main sister. I was like...
Yeah. She literally ended the episode saying, hello, big sister, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, listen.
I mean, that's cool, but
yeah,
it's really not.
It is what it is.
So our next sport anime, or just anime in general here, is Harukana Receive. I gotta say, this episode probably had the most ecchi in this, and what I mean by ecchi is it had a lot of showing off of the goods. There's a lot of bouncing, a lot of slapping booties. There was. Yeah. There was a lot of that going on.
You know what, though? Also, I think this was the most interesting episode we've had of the show.
No, it really was.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm still not a big fan of it. We continue to see, like you said, the sexualization of these teenage girls, which is weird. But yeah, it was actually the most interesting, and I think it's so interesting that the way they're playing out the whole relationship between Haruka and Kanata, because Haruka already spoke to. I forget her name. What's her name?
Blonde girl?
No, her old partner, Narumi.
Yeah.
Already spoke to Narumi's new partner, and knows a lot of Kanata's history. So seeing Kanata now slowly peel back the layers and kind of reveal it herself, it's kind of it's kind of cute.
No, it is.
It's nice to see that relationship developing between them. I really like that, and it was also cool to see Kanata's. I guess not necessarily her insecurity go away, but her finding a newfound confidence and a new way to accept the fact that she's short. I mean, that's not something she can change, right? It's not like weight where you can drop and lose weight. It's height. You can't gain height when you're playing beach volleyball.
You know what? I really actually related to her when that had happened. just because I used to play volleyball, and it really sucked being the shorter guy on the team. All I would be doing is
can't relate.
Yeah. Well, I know you can't, but I understood that. But I really felt for her when she wanted to, be that powerhouse. She's like, these people are tall, like, she wants to compete. But I mean, there's other ways of going around it. Like, unfortunately, you got to find your niche, you got to find your role in it. But it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily be that power player. You have to do that. And that was great that both of them really are just, their relationship has just been improving episode after episode. And it's very different from HaneBADo. Like, that just happened all suddenly. Yeah. This one is literally like from the very beginning, like, oh, she's not looking me in my eyes in this car. She doesn't want to talk to me.
Because it's slow. It's slow progression. It's more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I like this new team that they're fighting against, the Team Eclair. Which I actually thought the Harukas, when they said Team Eclair and she like visualized each of their heads on.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. That was so great.
But I will say this is why I think the episode with Team Eclair makes more sense than the episode when they're playing against Narumi and her partner, because there's not as much baggage, so we get to just see the focus is entirely on Haruka and Kanata, kind of their dynamic and how it's developing, how it's getting better. And I like that. Like, I mean, again, I don't love the anime. There's a lot of problems with it, but at least it's going in the right direction in terms of storyline, not in terms of the way they address female characters. But everything else, I think they're doing well, and I think I'm interested. I do want to see what's going to happen next.
Isn't this great hearing that from you, honestly? Like, every episode's like, oh, here we go again. It's this part of the podcast where we talk about this.
I mean, like, but again, though, I want to make sure
No, that's good.
All of my issues with the anime remain. Like, all of my issues with, like, the weirdness of how sexual this anime is, it continues. It's just that now at least there's a story.
Yes. All right. I have to agree with you on that. And you know what? As I've been saying every single episode about how gorgeous it is, the colors were still very, very nice. Like, even with the introduction of Claire and Emily, I have to say that they really brought out, like, the color of the eyes really well again in this one. And I know you hate me always talking about
in case you're not sick of us talking about the colors. Let's do it again.
Yeah, you know what? I thought the colors in this one were really great. Like, it's still continuing with it. And also, something that I want to also continue is that we are also still learning about volleyball every episode.
No.
Let me ask you this. Let me go and say this word and tell me if you know what this means. Pokey.
I do know what that means.
Wow, educational.
Yeah. It tastes delicious.
All right, so it looks like we're going to go ahead, and with that being said, I got to say that we're still going to continue with Harukana Receive. It is
for now.
It is getting more interesting, and I feel like the way that it's developing is really going to be great. I can't wait for like an actual rematch against Narumi again. Another girl, whatever her name is.
Yeah, what is her partner's name? That's how little effect she had on me. And I guess us.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I really hope that they're able to have an actual match this time and Pokey's out and everything. So the next anime that we're going to talk about, which is one that we actually both really do enjoy talking about, as we've said multiple times about how this is going to be our favorite one, is Asobi Asobase.
Yep, continues to be the best one.
Let's go ahead and start it off with the armpit sniffing, okay?
Oh my god.
So every episode that they've played these games, and this one is so funny, man. When they were going around, I don't even know where to begin with this one. When Kasumi, remember when she was about to get caught out, she ended up bending one of her fingers all the way? Because in previous episodes, we learned that she was able to do that, and she just literally like, oh, let me just...
Yeah, no, so my favorite part about this whole thing is that, again, like this series in particular knows how to use misdirection to its advantage. The first couple minutes before the game of the armpit smelling started were pretty actually dull. Like they made a couple of like lame jokes, and I was like, wow, maybe they made, and I really, again, super pessimistic. I was like, well, maybe they lost the touch. Maybe it's gonna be like just a regular like semi funny anime. And it's like it created its own tension, and then immediately slapped you in the face with the armpit challenge. Which,
oh my god!
Even the introduction and the setup to it, and again, this is they're continuing on with the whole almost making American culture seem like animalistic. I mean, they were like, this can't be part of your culture. Yeah. This cannot be. And they're like, she's like, no, it is. It's what we do.
Yeah, because Kasumi, I mean, she was seeming like a Debbie Downer at first, remember? Yeah. And she even admitted it. Like, that was such a perfect setup, though.
They really, and like I said,
it was a really great setup.
It baited us.
It did.
Into thinking like, oh, this is going to be like maybe a darker episode. But that whole situation was funny. Hanako remains the best character on this show. And that's not discounting Olivia or Kasumi because they're both hilarious as well, but just so funny, and the way they draw her, and the way
she's so animated,
and
like,
her voice actress also. Kudos, because wow, it's done so well. Okay, so after the initial setup when they were doing the armpit challenge, which is hilarious, they go into the actual what seems like the actual storyline for the episode, which is like, oh, they want to get. They have a teacher that's lonely who they're trying to pair up, and then they have to make sure to also, while getting this teacher in charge of their club now, they have to get a room, like a classroom. But before we kind of dive into that, I wanted to mention something. Last week you said, oh, it reminds me of Adventure Time, where there's these main characters that are, kind of meeting different, like a subset of characters, right, or recurring characters, and then having storylines. And I didn't at the time agree, but I'm going to take that back. I think after watching this, like, you are 100% right with that, because they are using it in the same style, right? There's 3 main characters here versus the 2 where it's Jake and Finn, and Kasumi, Olivia, and Hanako are all constantly having different relationships with, different interactions with these characters. Like, we've seen the class president again this time, and again she maintains this like weird mob style leadership, and they animate it very well. And it's funny because you see her thinking to herself and in her head, like, oh, I need to make sure to present this as nicely as possible, but it comes across very mobby, very like mafia, and it's hilarious. It works to the effect well, and then seeing each of the girls react is also funny. And I think what we talked about earlier too makes sense. Last week, Kasumi continues to be the supporting character of the 3.
That's what I was wondering about, like, her role this one, but I really feel like with this episode particularly that they kind of like balanced it. Like, everyone kind of had their own roles. Obviously Hanako still the best, but I feel like they really tried balancing it. Like, they had a lot more of her like trying to come out and be a little funny, but
I agree with that. I guess that when I say supporting, I mean, like, Hanako and Olivia are still funnier, and I still feel like they make more, even with less, like, Olivia had less screen time, had less lines.
Yeah, she did.
And yet she still felt like more of a presence than Kasumi, who had, like you said, an increase in lines. And I used to think that was to her detriment. It's not, though. Her character is now being developed in a way that like, that's who she is. And it makes sense for this group, right? It would be super weird if we had 3 alpha personalities in this group. And she is more beta. And she's still, her main storyline continues to be, I need to learn English. This is why she helps the teacher, because she wants to learn English. And this English teacher wants a date. I thought it was funny that they made the English teacher think that that the Pastimers Club or the Pleasure Seekers Club was about, like, physical pleasure. This anime is very adult, or manages to be adult without being too gross, and I think that's what's interesting, because something like, whereas Harukana Receives, right, we're seeing all these, like, basically, like, ass and
we're just
boobs.
seeing butts.
So we're seeing that, and that feels more gross than this one, which is like, oh, well, I'm here for the Pleasure Seekers Club, which is clearly a sexual thing. It doesn't feel gross. It feels like, it just feels funny, and also appropriate, right, in this one, and not like in the sense like, oh, this isn't appropriate for kids, but it feels okay for the anime. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, sorry, I'm totally monopolizing this. I love this show.
No, and that's totally fine. Let out your thoughts. Let me go ahead and take it over then. Let's go ahead and bring it back to the armpit sniffing game, okay? For those of you who have not watched this anime, please do. I mean, I know this sounds pretty gross.
Do.
I mean, it kind of is, but
it's so good.
So when Hanako had when she lost the first time and she had a sniff, she turned into a cat. Whatever it was, the animation on that was just so good, where she's just constantly, like, rubbing her nose trying to get the smell out. With that being said, I remember when they had when she had formed an alliance with Kasumi, and then she literally betrayed her.
Oh yeah,
she betrayed her and just had no remorse on her face. Like, oh, you on your own.
Yeah,
that had me rolling.
Yeah, the whole thing was good.
That entire
She's such a
scene
good character.
She really is.
She's such
oh my goodness, that betrayal was just so beautiful. Other than that, with Hanako again, we're gonna speak about her because she did have another scene. Remember when she was called out in the English class to speak, and she just literally put candy in her mouth, like
that was.
it goes along with that theory. What can go wrong will go wrong, you know. And she's constantly thinking like, please don't pick me, and then she ends up being picked. Yeah, and then you could not stop laughing from that one.
I was crying.
He was literally crying.
And like you said, there's no. That whole piece is it's like briefly mentioned, and cells at work, pay attention. It's briefly mentioned later on in the episode, just kind of referencing back, which is all you have to do. But it had no real bearing on the story. Yeah, like there was no. It was just like a one-off, and I think because they know Hanako is so funny, they knew they could just throw her into whatever random situation. But that was hilarious. I mean, when she chokes on the candy, it was. Just thinking of it right now makes me want to bust up laughing. It's so funny.
I'm trying to hold myself here. All right.
And even the end when they so they're competing for this classroom with the shogi club.
That's right.
And when they're all kicking off their foot, and like
kicking off their shoe.
Excuse me. Hanako's whole setup is like you think she's gonna kick her shoe really far, and she just goes straight up, and it's just. The whole setup was funny, and then even the battle between the girls and and the club, the other club, was just they even make the other characters, right, like the recurring characters or the outside characters have these ridiculous stories, and this ridiculous animation, and this it's just like kind of.
I gotta give a shout out to the shogi president though.
Yeah, so funny.
She went out like a boss. Like she really was a leader. Glad the girls were still able to keep the room, but I mean, shout out to Olivia as well for thinking outside the box for starting this. No one ever said I couldn't use a swing.
Oh yeah, that was. But see, that's what I'm saying. Though. Olivia continued even with less lines, still has a big presence.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. All those scenes in this episode were just so good. I literally look forward to watching this every single time.
And I feel bad because I constantly reference back to the story, like what's the story, what's the story, what's the story? Because I'm very story driven, but at this point, I don't think I care. Because this episode ended literally with like, oh yeah, they won, but the shogi class president is now homeschooled, and they kept their room. The end. Like that is so lazy, but it's so perfect for this because
it fit perfectly.
At this point, like I said, this anime has earned that right. They've earned the right to not care about an overarching story, which there kind of is one. I'm realizing. I think it is Kasumi learning English.
Huh.
I think that's it because that's every episode we've heard about that, and it makes sense. It fits in with their dynamic. That Kasumi's the more laid back one, right? And I feel like maybe at the end of a series or the end of the season, if this ends up being a multiple season series, we'll see her English grade go up, and we'll see the fallout of what that means. Does it mean she continues with the group, or does it not?
It's very interesting. I didn't even think about that, but the constant theme around it actually is about her learning English.
Yeah, and that will also make sense because in the second episode when she says, "Well, if you didn't, if I didn't learn English," that could be why they referenced it, right? Because if she says yes, and then 10, 12 episodes down the line, we see her grade go up, and she's like, "All right, well, deuces," then we know that wasn't the case, and it'll be a very cool thing to see kind of play out.
It's a very interesting thought. That's a good one. But with that being said, I gotta say, so far, this I want to say like overall the summer animes that we've been watching, at least for the most part, are just actually really good.
Really good.
I mean, aside from
actually no, not overall really good. Okay. Two have been good. One has been terrific. One has been pretty good, and the other ones have been.
One's getting better. The other one
got
is
dropped.
Yeah. So one just didn't make it. Unfortunate. I'm okay, but you know what? I think this summer has been pretty well. I mean, you don't have no comparison to it, but for the spring anime, for me, I still think spring was really good, and I hope to catch you up on this one day. But summer is actually not a bad follow-up so far. It's still really, really good. So with that being said, guys, please do subscribe to us. We do episodes weekly. And we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube if you guys are watching through that.
Yeah, please like the video, follow us on Spotify, subscribe on iTunes, do everything you can.
Yeah, and we would love to hear your thoughts as well. So with that being said, I guess we're going to go ahead and just sign out here, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.